You don't really work anyway, it's just silly online stuff. My sister Amanda's voice rang through my home office as she arranged her business files on what used to be my desk. I stood in the doorway, still dusty from helping her parents move into their new condo, watching as she systematically erased every trace of my presence from the room. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 34, and I just returned from a weekend of heavy lifting and family drama to find my sister had completely taken over my workspace. The carefully organized writing corner I built in my own home was now buried under her real estate paperwork and motivational posters. "Amanda, this is my office," I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. "I work from here." She barely glanced up from arranging her designer desk accessories. "Oh, please, blogging isn't real work. I have actual clients, actual deadlines. Mom and Dad agree I need this space more than you do." Of course they did. In my family's eyes, Amanda could do no wrong. She was the successful real estate agent, the one with the fancy car and designer clothes. I was just the quiet one who played around on the internet all day. What they didn't know, what I'd never bothered to tell them, was that my silly online stuff had built a following of over 200,000 readers. My writing supported me comfortably, allowing me to buy this house with its perfect little office 3 years ago. Besides, Amanda continued, hanging her sales awards on my wall. "You can work from anywhere. Use the kitchen table or something. I need a professional space to meet clients." I watched as she tossed my writing references into a box, my favorite inspirational quotes replaced with her top seller certificates. The room that had once been my sanctuary was transforming before my eyes. "Did it occur to you to ask me first?" I asked, picking up my beloved vintage typewriter before she could relocate that too. "Mom said you wouldn't mind." "You never mind, Sarah. That's your thing, right? Always accommodating, always nice." She gestured around the room. "And this location is perfect for my business, right in the heart of the best-selling district." I clutched my typewriter closer. "And what about my business?" Amanda laughed, the same dismissive laugh I'd heard my entire life. "What business? Writing little stories online isn't a business, Sarah. I'm doing you a favor, really. Maybe this will push you to get a real job." I thought about the contract sitting in my email, the one I hadn't told my family about. The one from a major publishing house interested in turning my online series into a book deal. I thought about the speaking engagement I had scheduled for next month, and the writing workshop I was supposed to host in this very office. But standing there, watching Amanda rearrange my space like she owned it, I realized something. My family had always seen what they wanted to see. To them, I would always be the agreeable one, the one who gave in, the one whose work didn't matter. "You know what?" I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt. "Keep it." Amanda's head snapped up, suspicion crossing her face. "Really?" "Really, you're right, I can work from anywhere." I picked up my laptop bag and the typewriter. "The office is yours." Well, good," she stammered, clearly thrown by my lack of resistance. "I knew you'd understand. I'll need the keys too for client meetings." I pulled my house keys from my pocket, removed the office key, and handed it to her. "Just remember to lock up when you leave." As I walked out, I heard her on the phone with our mother. "She just gave it to me, just like that. See, I told you she doesn't really need an office." What Amanda didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd stopped needing their approval a long time ago. And as I drove away from my house, a plan was already forming in my mind. Sometimes the best revenge isn't fighting back, it's letting people think they've won while you build something better. I pulled into my favorite coffee shop, set up my laptop, and opened my email. The publishing contract was still there, waiting for my signature. So it was an interesting listing I'd been eyeing for the past month. Maybe it was time to show my family exactly what silly online stuff could do. I smiled as I began to type, my fingers flying over the keyboard. Amanda could have the office. I had bigger plans. Over the next few weeks, I watched from my kitchen table as Amanda paraded clients through my home office. She'd installed a giant LED sign with her name in the window, rearranged all the furniture, and somehow managed to make the cozy space look like a sterile corporate cubicle. "Your sister's really making something of that room," Mom commented during our weekly family dinner. "She's already closed 3 big deals there. Isn't it nice to see the space being put to good use?" I nodded, focusing on my pasta. Beside me, Amanda beamed. "I'm thinking of expanding actually. That spare bedroom upstairs would make a perfect conference room." I nearly choked on my food. "That's my bedroom." Well, you could move into the smaller guest room, she said, waving her hand dismissively. It makes more sense for my business. Dad, tell her it makes sense. Before Dad could speak, I stood up. Actually, I have some news of my own. Did you finally get a real job? Amanda smirked. I pulled out my tablet and slid it across the table. On the screen was the article from Publishers Weekly announcing my book deal. Remember that silly online stuff I've been working on? It just sold for 6 figures. The silence around the table was deafening. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. Dad's mouth hung open slightly. Amanda snatched up the tablet, her face growing redder with each word she read. This has to be a mistake, she sputtered. 6 figures. For a blog? For a series of novels, I corrected her, based on my blog. There's also a potential streaming service interested in adaptation rights. But you just write stories online, Mom said weakly. How? I've been writing professionally for 5 years, I explained. That silly online stuff has paid my mortgage, funded my retirement account, and, I paused, allowing myself a small smile, just helped me buy the old Maxwell building downtown. Amanda's head snapped up. The Maxwell building, that prime commercial space I've been trying to get my hands on for months. The very same. I'm converting the top floor into a writer's retreat and workshop space. The renovation starts next week. Dad finally found his voice. But Princess, that building must have cost. Less than what my advance check covered, I said, standing up. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting with my contractor. As I drove to the Maxwell building, I couldn't help but smile. The look on Amanda's face when she realized I'd snagged her dream property was priceless. But this wasn't about revenge, it was about finally being seen. The contractor, Maya, was waiting for me outside. We'd spent weeks planning the renovation, turning the dusty top floor into something spectacular. Floor-to-ceiling windows would flood the space with natural light. The original hardwood floors would be restored, and the view of the city skyline would inspire anyone who walked in. Ready to make some magic? Maya asked, unlocking the door. More than ready. As we walked through the space, discussing plans and possibilities, my phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from my family. I ignored them all. For once, I wasn't going to explain or justify myself. Amanda had taken my office, thinking she was putting me in my place. Instead, she pushed me to create something far better than I'd imagined. The writer's retreat would be more than just my workspace. It would be a haven for other writers, a place where creativity was celebrated, not dismissed. By the way, Maya said as we finished our walkthrough, that real estate agent who's been calling about the building, she called again today, says she represents a very interested buyer. I knew exactly who that agent was. Tell Amanda the building's not for sale. Not now, not ever. Maya grinned. Will do, boss. As I stood at the windows, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. Sometimes the best response to being underestimated isn't to fight back. It's to rise above, to build something so magnificent that those who doubted you can't help but look up in awe. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Amanda. We need to talk about the Maxwell building. I have clients interested in the space. I typed back a simple response. Sorry, the silly online writer is busy creating something real. Then I turned back to my plans, ready to transform the space into everything I dreamed of, and everything my family never thought I could achieve. 3 months after that family dinner, I stood in my completed writer's retreat, watching the sun rise through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The space was everything I'd envisioned and more. Comfortable writing nooks dotted the open floor plan, each with its own view of the city. A coffee bar served local brews, and small meeting rooms provided quiet spaces for workshops and writing groups. My vintage typewriter, rescued from my old office, sat proudly on display in the entrance, surrounded by copies of my newly published book. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same typewriter Amanda had nearly tossed away was now a symbol of success she couldn't ignore. The grand opening was scheduled for today, and despite my best efforts to keep it quiet, word had spread. Local media was coming to cover the story of how a mere blogger had created one of the city's most innovative creative spaces. Ms. Mitchell, my assistant, Kate, appeared at my elbow. Your family's here. I turned to see Mom, Dad, and Amanda standing awkwardly in the entrance. Amanda's face was a study in conflicting emotions as she took in the space. the space she tried and failed to acquire for her own business. Sarah, Mom started, clutching her purse tightly. This is incredible. It really is, Princess, Dad added, looking around in awe. Why did you tell us you were capable of all this? I tried, I said simply. For years, I tried to show you that my writing was more than just silly online stuff. You chose not to see it. Amanda stepped forward, her designer heels clicking on the restored hardwood floors. Look about the office. I may have been a bit hasty. Keep it, I interrupted. Consider it a reminder of what you thought I was capable of. This, I gestured around the retreat, is what I actually achieved. Before anyone could respond, Kate appeared again. The reporter from the City Times is here for your interview. I watched my family's eyes widen at the mention of the prestigious newspaper. Amanda, in particular, looked like she'd swallowed something sour. She'd been trying to get featured in the City Times for years. I should go, I said. Feel free to look around. The coffee bar is open, and there's a copy of my book for each of you on the welcome desk. You know, the one that just hit the bestseller list. As I walked away, I heard Mom whisper, "Did she say bestseller list?" The interview went wonderfully. The reporter was particularly interested in how I transformed from a simple blogger to a successful author and business owner. I told her the truth, that sometimes being underestimated is the greatest motivation to succeed. Later that afternoon, as writers filled the space, typing away their own stories, Amanda approached me again. I've been thinking, she said, fingers fidgeting with her designer bracelet. Maybe we could collaborate. Your platform, combined with my real estate expertise. I cut her off gently. No, Amanda. This space isn't about real estate or making deals. It's about creating something meaningful, something you once called silly and worthless. But the office you took, keep it. I meant what I said. Every time you walk in there, remember how you treated my dreams. And then look up at this building, my building, and remember what those dreams became. She left shortly after, our parents trailing behind her. But something had shifted. For the first time in my life, I saw respect in their eyes. Not that it mattered anymore. I'd stopped seeking their approval the day Amanda took over my office. As the sun set on our opening day, I sat in my favorite corner of the retreat, laptop open, working on my next book. Writers around me tapped away at their keyboards, sipped coffee, and created their own worlds. This was what I'd built, not just a space for myself, but a haven for others who dared to dream big. My phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. I'm sorry, I really am. Your success. It's incredible. I should have seen it sooner. I smiled, typing back. Sometimes the smallest office can lead to the biggest dreams. Thanks for pushing me out of mine. Then I turned back to my writing, watching the city lights twinkle through the windows of my creative sanctuary. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about soaring so high that those who once looked down on you have to crane their necks just to see how far you've flown. The writer's retreat became the talk of the city, featured in magazines and blogs. But more importantly, it became a symbol of what happens when you refuse to let others define your worth. Amanda kept my old office, but I found something better. My own voice, my own space, and the sweet satisfaction of proving that silly online stuff could build something remarkable.